Okay, back for part 3 of this video series. So we've gone over the different ways of how we need to aim the sun oven, how do we adjust for the tilt of the sun oven, and also the positioning in the yard, knowing where the sun tracks across your property. Also, you want to be able to get full sun, obviously, so you're not going to be doing this under the canopy shade of a tree. You want full exposure. Not trying to show you stuff in my yard because it's not all that pretty, just aiming badly. So we've gone over those key points. Now with this sun oven, you can do other things. You don't have to cook everything at 350 degrees. What I've also found is you can, I know, hang on, it's going to get rocky. Alright, so what we can do is, looking at this, and I've had this sitting here for just maybe the 20-25 minutes we've been talking, and it's already up to 225 degrees because we have it aligned, we have it aimed, and it's at its optimum, and it's doing the best work it can do for me. Now, one other thing you may want to notice here is the latch. I don't have it latched down. Now, that brings up another point. You do not have to cook everything with that latch shut. If you're cooking something and you don't want that much heat, you don't want 350 degrees, leave it unlatched. I've seen this oven get up to 300 degrees with it unlatched. If you put something inside, there's going to be water content of whatever you have. And after 45 minutes or an hour of having something in there like that roast I was talking about, you get condensation buildup on the inside of the glass. I've found for me, I need to open that door every 45 minutes to an hour when I go to adjust it and reposition it for the sun. I open the door and I let some of the steam out and I wipe off the condensation. Condensation on the glass acts as a filter, and it cuts down on the sunlight entering into the oven, and that will cut down significantly on your optimal temperature. So keeping the glass clear and clean is important. It's not, again, it's not a set it and forget it. There's a little bit of work involved here. But again, I'm doing something. I cooked that roast and it was the best. My wife couldn't quit raving about it. And I didn't even freeze the leftovers because we just kept pecking on it all week long. But the thing is that if you have the time, and sometimes, you know, if you're going camping or stuff, you may not be able to use this in the morning to do anything for breakfast, but you can set it up for lunch, you can set it up for dinner. If you want a warm water so that you can have tea, have instant coffee, you can set a pot in there and walk away for a half an hour, 45 minutes, and you never had to use your propane. And that's, again, it's one of the beauties of this thing is you can use this to mitigate and offset your fuel consumption. The fuel you're going to need to use when there's no usable sun for the solar oven. You see how that works? When there's no usable sun for the solar oven, then you switch to your petroleum fuels. And I can go on and on about that. I'm not going to do a lot of that in this video. But I just want to say a few things to try to get people's mind thinking in a certain way that, hey, if I can do this without using petroleum products, and it's not because I'm a tree hugger, Greenpeace, and all that. I'm thinking about costs. I'm thinking about availability of fuel. And it could be even in a hurricane, after a tornado, after any kind of an event where you are specifically encountering a power loss, lack of electricity. Maybe you decided you wanted to go camp somewhere and you're camping in a tent and you just want to rough it, So you brought a propane tank, cylinder, a stovetop, so that you can be able to boil water, be able to make coffee. But when you are able, you want to use your solar oven. Because we can't control the weather, obviously. But when we have beautiful weather like this, and right now my backyard thermometer's probably at like around 65 degrees. It's beautiful, and the sun's shining. Put that solar oven out there, let it warm up, leave the door unlatched. When you're ready, when you want it, you go out there and you use it. It's one of those things where it's not going to hurt it sitting there, warmed up. And, it takes a little longer. It's not a microwave oven. But when you start working with this solar oven stuff and you start to embrace the usage of it, you start to say, you know what, I don't need to expose my food to radar waves. Because folks, back in the 70s, before they called them microwave ovens, they called them radar ranges. And you're pulsing microwave radar stuff through your food. It wasn't something I was all keen about, and a couple of years ago my wife and I decided we're done with the microwave oven, and we use a toaster oven if we have something small to heat up in the house. Yes, it takes 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, but I'd rather do it that way. Okay, so enough of that. Again, using the solar oven to you only have to attain 170 degrees to sterilize water. If you have a water source and you're able to filter out the silt and the small rocks and stuff like that, whether it's through a piece of cheesecloth, a shirt, whatever, and you can put that water in some sort of metal container, you can set that container into the solar oven, and if you've got at least 200 degrees in that solar oven, after an hour, whatever was in that water is dead. Okay? Because if you've hit 170 to 200 degrees, you do not have to have water at a rolling boil to kill off germs and viruses. The Center for Disease Control says you have to at least attain 170 degrees Fahrenheit. And then that water is considered sterile. At which time you take it out and you want to let it cool down naturally. And depending on how you think the water tastes after it's cooled off, you may add just a couple of grains of, I like to use unprocessed salt. I use real salt, R-E-A-L, real salt. That's the brand name. You can use Himalayan salt, you can use black salt, you can use whatever you want to give it a little something back, because after it's been heated, it's got a different flavor. But nonetheless, that's personal taste. So you can at least sterilize water, you can reheat food, you cook food, you can bake. I've baked breads in this thing. And you have to have at least 325 degrees to get the bread to even rise. So you only want to bake bread in a solar oven when you've got a beautiful day like this. And that's not what I'm going to do today. I'm going to stop it here. I'll be coming back later because I'm going to cook some bacon in my solar oven. Bake it in the solar oven instead of frying it in the pan. Okay, we'll talk to you later.